Sick. How you doing, man? I appreciate you doing this.
Good.
Cool. Thank you. Cool. Well, I guess to start, so the way I start these is I tell people the point of this is not to talk about how you get good at art, like how you become a good concept artist or anything. It's more about like the why of doing all of it, you know? And it's like how does somebody, in spite of, you know, everything being really hard, like in spite of having a life and
the flies just decided to come in now, dude.
Worst possible time. But yeah, it's more about the why of doing all this stuff. Like, how do you find enjoyment from your day-to-day life as an artist?
Yeah, it's like man's search for meaning. Like,
yeah.
What is like the core reason for like doing things?
Absolutely. Well, it's like, what is the idea of art in general to begin with? You know, because from one level, it's this like really esoteric, hard, difficult thing that, you know, on the surface there might not seem like there's any point to it. But the reality is it's been something that's like allowed you to travel. It's allowed you to meet a whole community of people and, you know, you know, make a living off of it and all that.
Yeah, that's such a loaded question, dude, because I actually think about this all the time too. And it's kind of changed throughout my life. Like, what is the purpose served like through art? And I think, I don't know, there's like so many answers to that. Like there's like the functionality of art and design, like where that goes. Like you see artists are essential for the world we live in. Like the van that you're living in, it's designed by an artist, someone who's smart. But it also enriches our soul, right? Like it gets us to a point where we can see like the deeper meaning of life. Like what is the purpose of like living? And like for a lot of art, like it moves people to do stuff, right? Like, gives us motivation to feel a certain way, or like for films and animation, like gives you insight on the world and like how like human psychology is, or how the world has been. It's like a medium for storytelling. So there's so many reasons why art is, why people do art and why it's important.
Well, I think the flip side of that is there's so many reasons not to do art as well. You know, on top of all that stuff, there's like the fear for a lot of people that what they have to say is not going to be of value or of substance to anybody, or it's going to take a lot of work or any of that kind of stuff. And for every artist I've ever met, it started out by them watching YouTube videos or them being a fan of like a really particular character in Star Wars or something. And
that's how I was. Like that's how I got inspired. Actually, like I remember one of the first videos I watched that got me inspired to be an artist was the one with Watts. It's like, "Don't Go to Art School" was the title of it. And I remember watching that and being like, oh my God, this guy's got like such a convincing argument for like what you should be doing as an artist. And like a lot of it, like I resonated with because it was focused on like discipline, consistency, and like all these rules that you can use in your life, like regardless of the discipline to achieve success. But that was just like really inspiring. Something clicked in my brain where I was like, okay, there's like a roadmap to this, and it's not going to be easy, but the roadmap's pretty simple, right?
It's linear, right? It's something that is actually achievable. You know?
Yeah, and it's definitely feasible too. But like with all things, like it's like something like greatness is going to be hard to achieve. Like no matter what type of discipline you're going into, whatever type of field that you're trying to grow in and be a part of. But I remember watching that video, and I think a lot of things aligned at that time too. This was like right when I'd graduated high school, and I had got my applications in to go to school, and I was going to go into computer science for games, but I had an art teacher, Miss Blevins, and she was like, you should just pursue art. Like this is like where your passions are. And I kind of stuck with that. Just went to community college, and I met Glenn Hill, who was one of my mentors there. And he was like Watts too, where he was like trained in the old arts, like golden age illustration. He went to Art Center like back in the day, like went around, like Sid Mead went to art school, and he would just bring in books like Dean Cornwell and like Frazetta. I'd be like, holy shit, like this stuff's amazing. Like I want to do this. Like I want to do like world building and like make beautiful images. And then started to train a little bit, and eventually went to art school, where Watts said not to go. But I mean, it worked out in the end. Like you're saying, art opens up so many doors too, especially if you're passionate about it and you're curious. You get to meet these really interesting people who have crazy insights. They've already gone down the road you're trying to go through, or they're in the field that you want to be in. It's like easy to ask them questions if you're curious enough. If you have like an inclination to learn about like whatever it is, painting or like plein air painting, like world building, what goes into design, what makes like a good shape. And there's like answers if you're willing to to ask the right people.
Yeah, and put in the work too. And I think a big
Yeah.
part of it is seeing yourself as somebody who's even capable of doing that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think again for a lot of people, at least for me, the biggest thing that I feel like I struggle with is not my access to resources or necessarily like the people I'm around or the instructors I have. It's like my ability to see myself as somebody who has good ideas. It's like how many hurdles pop up when I think, oh, fucking bugs. Hey, do you want to light this?
Yeah, will this stop the bugs?
It might actually.
Do I just light
Yeah,
the alcohol?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, maybe that'll deter them.
That's good. Cool. But yeah, it's like how many thoughts of I can't do this or I shouldn't be doing this or whatever come up when you think of something you actually want to be doing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And every single successful artist I've ever met and hung out with and talked to on this podcast even, they are the kind of people that when they come up with an idea, it's almost like a childlike like naivety or something in terms of like, oh, I'm just gonna paint heads or I'm just gonna like, you know, paint orcs and hope it works out, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, none of the roadblocks of like, oh, if I do nothing then paint orcs, like who's going to do my taxes? How am I going to be able to buy a house? How am I going to have health insurance? All those things pop up and prevent the person from being fully invested in it.
Yeah,
you know?
and it seems childlike when you compare art to like
Being
real
like
life things,
aerospace engineering,
or things that might, exactly, or things that might seem like they're more important, or like in the grand scheme of things, it's like we need certain people to be doing certain jobs for us to survive. Right. And art's like this extension of our souls that we don't really like need to survive, but like at the end of the day, it kind of feeds into the reason for being. It's like what are these people going to do after they get off work? They're going to consume entertainment and they're going to fill their souls with something that's hopefully meaningful if they don't derive that from their own work. And I'm sure, you know, like you can derive meaning from your work, whether it's art or not, but I get that same sense too sometimes, like when I have an idea for something, especially when I'm doing like journaling or taking notes or trying to come up with thumbnails for a sketch. It's like this is actually kind of childish, but it's like there's some importance there too. Like it's like important to let yourself be that way and be open to new ideas. And I think that's like a part of what's fun in art is experimenting with those ideas and seeing where they might go. There's like this idea of like murdering your babies in art. And it's just like, okay, like that was an idea. It didn't work out. It's fine. Move on to the next one, or learn to grow through that, like that art of discovering whatever that idea might be.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a balance too, you know, because I mean, you do have to pay taxes and you have to pay rent and all this kind of stuff, and trying to.
It sucks, dude. Taxes fucking suck.
Yeah, fuck the state. Yeah, fuck the shit, dude. Well, and it's like you have to manage to survive and do all this stuff, and also, you know, think about like how cool like biceps are on, I don't know, like a cool monster design or something, you know, or for you environments and all that kind of stuff. And, I know something that like you were considering being a computer scientist or studying computer science before going into art, you know, and then something happened along the line where you decided like art is more important to me. I want to pursue this than, you know, than computer science. You know? And I don't know. I guess that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. Is like I don't think that we are meant as biological evolutionary creatures to spend our life paying taxes and going to work and, you know, doing spreadsheets and all this kind of stuff. Like that's not the point of life, you know?
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Like when you zoom out to the most objective level, like we're on a small speck flying through space at 65,000 miles per hour in an infinite void of nothingness, and you know we're only alive for a very, very, like us personally, alive for a very, very small section of it. And somehow in the context of all that stuff, paying our taxes or having a certain job or having certain things becomes way more important to us than you know just the sheer scale of things, you know. And
why do you think that is? Why do you think we've gotten to that point?
Well, I think it's part of our own biology. I think we do what other people expect of us, and it's hard not to listen to people that we see as smarter or above us, you know? It's like going back to the idea, or like the idea of a hierarchy in general. Like you walk around the world and you see people, especially if you're an art student, that are superior than you, you know? It's like, oh, that person's an art director on this big video game, or this person's a, you know, multi-million-dollar tech investor, you know, or they helped create this giant character, and that character influenced me from when I was 5 years old, so this person is above me, you know?
Yeah, so it seems like there's like some sort of appeal to status or appeal to greatness, and we kind of conform to that, or we submit to it in some way.
Yeah.
Seems like.
Yeah. Well, and I think everyone's searching for an answer to the meaning of life, you know? Like everyone is looking for that, you know, once I have this job or this amount of money or I've done this thing, then I will have finally made it to the point where I will finally be happy, you know?
It's like you come to realize that that's just an illusion, right, for time. That being able to be happy is not something you're just going to attain and then have that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the idea of meaning in life, like that's one of them, is like the pursuit of happiness. It's not just having that happiness and then being okay with it. There's like a struggle, like you have to work hard towards things.
Yeah.
And it's weird. You start to realize, okay, there's like a formula to happiness. Like, okay, I have to put in hard work.
Yeah. I can close the door if you want. Yeah, I'm going to close the door. But again, I think it's kind of an odd thing. Like, again, from the perspective that we are, you know, one of 7.5 billion people, some absurd amount of human beings that in their own right have their own universes happening completely independent of ours. We can somehow see things that we don't like doing as like the most important things that we have to do, you know? And we stress ourselves out about it, and we actually might become worse people because of it, you know? And I'm not saying that stuff is inherently evil, but like there is like a source of suffering in everybody's life, and I think that's a huge part of it, honestly, you know? That like desire to fit in, or that desire to like, I don't know, be part of somebody else's system, you know? But,
what's the solution, do you think, to end suffering?
It's well, I honestly, I think it's a really simple answer, and it's like, I think it's focusing on yourself versus, like the overall hierarchies of reality, you know? I think people need problems to solve, but the more you focus on, like trying to control other people and have people believe what you believe, the more likely you are to kind of go crazy from just the pressure of that's just not the way the world works, you know? It's like right now there are people out there that are prepared to like suicide bomb for what they believe in, and we're here just like talking about art and stuff, you know, in Orange County. Like both Disneyland and the war in Ukraine and Syria and all this horrible stuff can exist simultaneously. Like somebody's at Space Mountain right now, well, someone else is being waterboarded, you know? Yeah. And it's like such a crazy thing to think about.
It can be overwhelming too. Like I think that's why a lot of people are kind of stressed out too, is because they're aware of everything that's going on that isn't necessarily good. Yeah. Like think about all the good things that are happening too right now.
Right.
But for us, we have this like negativity bias that tries to focus on like what's wrong in the world, or even more importantly, like what's wrong with you, like what's wrong with me. And that's where I think we can go a little bit fucking crazy, is by focusing on that type of stuff. But I don't know.
Well, you mentioned Man's Search for Meaning, and for anyone who hasn't read that book, I highly recommend it. Yeah. It's by Viktor Frankl, who is a clinical psychologist he was in the Holocaust and his entire family died. It's a tragic book, but he talks about how he managed to find some amount of meaning in his life in spite of everything that was happening.
Yeah.
I think the answer to like at least having a better idea of like what you want to do in your own life is to just try and live in the moment as much as possible. Like the more that you like dream about your own success, the more you dream about your own failures and all this kind of stuff, the more you're sucked into the future or the past. You're not able to be who you are because you're trying to be future you, or you're sucked in by past you with regret or something, you know?
Yeah, you're not present. You're not in the moment, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Another good book, too, I'll recommend is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I'm pretty sure he was like a Roman king at some point, or he was a leader in some sort of fashion.
Roman emperor, yeah.
Yeah, he was a Roman emperor, but a lot of his meditations, his like little writings in his journal were about like being grateful, like trying to be in the moment, and even practicing like this idea of imagining yourself without the things that you have. Like, I mean, like your eyesight, like your ability to walk, and like think about that, meditate on that a little bit, and then you start to actually be grateful for the things that you do have. And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in this like negativity, or they get stressed, or they might have anxiety, is because they think about like what they don't have, but they're not focused on what they do have. And you know, like happiness, it can be created at any moment. It's just like a matter of perspective. Like,
well, and it's kind of an odd thing to realize is that you can take complete responsibility for your own well-being, which is a really difficult
responsibility thing is a big one. You know,
well, there was a, I don't know, in Gladiator, Marcus Aurelius appears in the movie as at the end of his life as the wise king. And
that's right.
Yeah. Well, and at the beginning of the movie, spoilers, I mean, I guess, but he dies. But in the beginning of the movie, before he dies, he's in his tent with Maximus, and you know, he's surrounded by all this beautiful art, you know, busts of him that are incredible. Like, he has the nicest tent, most beautiful, but he's completely alone inside of it. And Maximus is describing his, you know, simple, modest farm to the emperor, the wealthiest man on the planet, essentially. And Marcus Aurelius is like, I'm so envious of you and your simple life, you know. Like, him pursuing greatness in this fictional setting, of course, is the thing that it's something that actually ultimately he doesn't love that much. You know, he has this responsibility to.
Let's see what Joe Rogan thinks about our podcast.
I want to get Joe Rogan on at some point.
Do you think he'd do it?
I think I could get him.
I mean, he'd fit in this band for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think like 10 of him.
Yeah. I didn't realize how short he was. I saw him at the Comedy Store when they used to have Joe Rogan, but it's like, damn, he's pretty small. But
tiny guy.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't matter. But.
Well, I think somebody like Joe Rogan or anyone that is like a part of our society that's like seen as, you know, he's successful and wealthy and stuff, you know, he, like, there are a fair amount of people that, and I'm not saying I'm immune to this, but want glory. You know, they want to be famous and they want recognition and all that kind of stuff. And the sad and tragic part about getting the recognition that we're talking about is that you get it and then it's futile. It's fleeting, you know. It's like, in spite of having all this fame and money and all this recognition from people, you still have to get up in the morning and eat breakfast and brush your teeth and, you know, go for a run and, you know, deal with taking a shit and changing your kids' diapers and all this stuff, you know. It's like there's an element of it that is almost like, it's not like it makes you completely immune to suffering, or it's not like it absolves you of responsibility for like living your life, you know. So something that I really believe is that I think that there are duties that everyone has to do every day. It depends on who the person is, but the general, like the average of it is like you have to exercise and eat well, you know, and be a nice person. And like, no matter who you are, if you have to give up your humanity, like that being humanity, if you have to give that stuff up in order to be successful, I think it's actually not worth it to be successful, you know, or successful.
Yeah. Do you have like any daily rituals, or like do you have times where you do those things that are essential?
I would like to say I do, but recently it's been TikTok in the mornings. It's just like the endless, you know, it's fucking addicting.
It's getting everyone, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's that's an example of a bad ritual to have, but you know, like go for a walk, you know, make some breakfast, go to the gym. You know, that's the kind of stuff I like to do every day. You know? I think it's important to have stuff like that going on all the time.
I think it's good to have rituals, and like TikTok might not be the best one. I've caught myself, like, I have a timer for TikTok now where it'll shut off my phone or the application that I'm using after I use like 15 or 30 minutes of it. But sometimes I'll catch myself like, skip that. I'm gonna unlock it and watch TikTok. But I think it's important to have like some sort of like rituals that keep you consistent throughout your day, and especially if you could do them in the morning. Like, look at all these like high profile people who have attained some sort of success, whether that's like socially or through their job. And a lot of them, what they do is they have those rituals that are pretty hard too. Like, I'm sure you've been hearing about like people doing like Wim Hof, going into like ice baths, or like doing extensive workouts in the morning to prime their brain for like the other hard shit that they're going to deal with. Yeah. I think that's like a good way of approaching life too, especially if you're working in like a high stress environment. It's like, got to train your mind to be able to cope with that in some way or another. Yeah. And I think things get easier the more you do them as well. So you've noticed this probably about a lot, like you probably noticed this amongst like all the professionals you've met. Like, why are they good? It's because they consistently do those things. They're exposed to, whether it's like teaching, like Marshall, he's like so good at explaining things and talking about them. It's because he teaches like regularly. He's like old, he's getting older in age, but he's able to explain things so fluently because he's been doing it and rehearsing it for so long.
Yeah, for like 40 years.
Yeah. And it's like, or if you look at someone like Elon Musk, whether you think he's a good businessman or not, he's attained success because he's built businesses and failed many times too. Yeah. It's that process of like failure, reevaluation, introspection, and then like growing from there, finding what's the best move to make.
Well, and I remember like Mark Zuckerberg, whether you feel good about him or not too, but he was saying like being the guy that runs Facebook or Meta now is really stressful. It's like waking up in the morning and you have nothing but bad news. Like, oh, my stock is down $800 million or $800 billion or whatever amount.
A few billion.
And, or, whatever. You could just go down the list of things. And, like, he said that the thing that allows him to keep going in spite of all that external pressure, billions of dollars, millions of people's jobs, all this, a lot of things riding on him is just doing hard physical exercise. He does like swimming and he does jujitsu and all this kind of stuff to like get his brain, just have it in the correct mindset to just, just to like tackle all this negativity that he's experiencing in his life. And I guess going back to all this stuff is like, I think the more somebody is able to conquer those little things in their life, the more likely they're going to be successful in the long run. I think that somebody's own success, like somebody having the dream job or being a great artist or any of that kind of stuff, is more of like a compounded good decision making over 10 years rather than them getting an awesome opportunity that leads them down. And no one goes from 0 to 100. It's like an overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah, and if you see that success happen really quick, it's probably not going to last for long. Especially with a lot of what's happened in crypto too. You see these like kids virtually where they just made a really good bet, and now they're like, some of them are billionaires. But it's like, did they have the skills to actually get to the billion in the first place? Like, even with lotto winners too, you see it, like most of them lose their money. They don't know how to. They don't have that experience through success to actually budget and account for their money, where it's going, and like being able to survive and even retire. It's like those types of things. But I've been talking about success quite a bit. I'm kind of curious because I know it's pretty subjective. There are like some objective things that we can evaluate success on, like financial success perhaps. But like, to you, what is success? Like, what do you think is success?
I think it's like mental freedom. It's like the ability to wake up every day and feel like there isn't a thumb under your, like a boot on your neck from something, whether it's rent or your boss or husband or wife or, whatever, It's like, sure, there's external boots on your neck that could be like your health. Having cancer would suck, but like having like success might be as simple as like you waking up in the morning and feeling like you've made good decisions, you know, feeling good about your job and being able to focus on, you know, everything you're doing and being content with it, you know. Like I know plenty of people that are successful, but they're not rich, you know. They're like, they have pretty modest jobs, honestly, but they're like extremely content and happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, they have that like sense of peace, inner peace and freedom mainly, I think.
Yeah.
For me, that's what success is when you're able to attain freedom. And that's like, that even goes into like the workplace too. It's like you want to get to a point where you can start to say no to people, where there's opportunities that are great, but you have the option, you have the freedom to say no. You have the freedom to go outside at a certain time and go for a bike ride, or you have the freedom to go on a date with your girlfriend because you have the time to, you don't have a deadline, or, and especially like that mental piece of freedom, like, you know, knowing that there's no real pressure from someone else external, you know, and that comes from like where your mind is.
Well, and you know, I think something like preventing that, like I've known people who make $500,000 a year who live paycheck to paycheck, you know. And I think it's like an odd thing to like. I don't make
so wild to think about. Yeah, it's true.
It's like you've spent $40,000 a month on stuff, you know, and it's like that is a strange thing about it, because you could be making that much money and not be free and not be successful. You know, it's like if you're making that much money, you might be constantly on call from your boss, or you know, you have to wake up at 3 a.m. and drive to work just to get, you know, some spreadsheet done or something, because they're paying you that amount of money and you feel obligated to do it. And
where like people are paying you so much to where they practically own you, in a sense. It's like they're giving you benefits and you feel obligated to wake up at 3 and do your job because you're getting paid well, you're being compensated well for it, but at the end of the day you're not free to do what the fuck you want. Like you know, you can't really raise your kids or teach them the things you would like to because you have other obligations. But that's like the rat race if you think about it, just having to prioritize those things over what you would seem as like important, right? Like your family or your health.
Which is and it's kind of odd too. I mean, going back to the idea that like, of course the things in life that you value the most are like your friends and family and your own health and stuff, but even us as individuals, we make the decision to choose that sort of success over health a lot of the time, you know. And I'm not saying it's necessarily bad or evil or anything, but I think that like you know, something like improving your lifestyle in a way that is unsustainable might be a thing that drives you towards that path, because like, let's say you personally bought like a $1 million house, and now you have to pay a $5,000 a month mortgage for the next 30 years. Like, that would force you to do things that you have to do, that you wouldn't have to do right now in order to just maintain that lifestyle, you know? And that might require you giving up your own health and your own whatever just to have this, you know, this building.
Yeah, there's like a trade-off for that, a trade-off for certain pleasures in life. And that's where you see the $500,000 salary pretty much be like a death sentence. In some ways, you're just a slave to paying that mortgage off or dealing with a certain problem, you know?
Yeah, and it's kind of an odd problem to have. Like, I think a lot of people are waiting for the ability to just stop paying rent and just focus on what they want to be doing, you know? And
it's like our generation right now. It's like, especially in California, or like these high income places or high rent areas. It's like, what is, like, how are you going to do that? How are you going to attain that? And it's like through like some sort of sacrifice, probably, you know, like, or just moving. There's a lot of people moving outside of like where we're at to obtain that, whether it's like moving to Arizona and getting a little shack that you own and then paying off that mortgage, like maybe renovating it, selling it, and then moving somewhere else. Or but I've been thinking about that a lot lately. There's just like different options in life too. Like with what you've done, you kind of circumnavigated around that by getting a van. And I'm sure you saved up a lot of money, or you're putting it back into this. Like,
Yeah.
and that, to me, is a sense of freedom. Like,
Yeah.
being able to not just like have your own thing,
Right.
not have to have an insane amount of debt over your head, but also you have like physical freedom. You can go wherever the fuck you want to.
Yeah, I love
like,
it,
you
man.
can literally go anywhere
Yeah.
in America or
Yeah.
Canada, Mexico. Like,
Yeah.
there's like so many options.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think, it's part of the reason why I chose this lifestyle is, like, to me, I looked at the idea of having an apartment, and, like, I would honestly rather live in an apartment if I could take it everywhere, but this allows me to, but I looked at the trade-off of, like, kitchen, bathroom, like, stable place to sleep every night, just having more space.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I was like, man, I'll just have more time in general, and trying to, like, go off the idea that, like, looking at my own life, what's more valuable, my time or money? It's like, I really want to try and live like my time is more valuable than the money I'd be making if I like worked at a studio full time or something.
And it's allowed you to do stuff like this too on your free time,
Yeah.
since you have it.
Yeah.
You can build your own business or your own intellectual property, whatever it might be, by
Yeah.
getting that. I think that's like one thing a lot of us aren't thinking about, especially younger kids. And I say younger kids, like high school students that are thinking about going to college and willing to take down these massive loans that they might not be able to pay off. And even if they do get a good job in a field that pays well, it's like, are you actually satisfied with that?
Yeah.
Like with what you're doing? And is it a good trade-off for your time? Is that money actually worth it in the end? Is that debt worth going into?
Yeah. Well, have you ever read The Count of Monte Cristo?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, I'm trying to think of. Well, yeah, I guess it's the story of like I left. I'm a loser from the very beginning, and then I get all this wealth, and now I'm a big shot, and I go back home, and no one cares. It's like, the reality is that like no one cares that you've directed a movie. No one cares that you are doing whatever. People care just like if you're enjoyable to be around. And all that sacrifice, I'd say, I'm not demeaning the idea of focusing on your career and sacrificing for that, but if you sacrifice your entire life for that, I think there's diminishing returns on the kind of life you'll have in the long run. Like,
Yeah.
if you focus on nothing but your career, then you might not have a spouse to go home to. Or if you focus on just your spouse, you won't have a career to feel proud of, and
Yeah, to me, it's like finding that sense of balance too with most things. Like, it seems like a lot of what we're talking about is like success and the trade-offs of that success. And I've seen it in myself too. Like a couple years ago, I was like last year, I was taking on multiple clients, and I was teaching and had all these things going on. It was like 80 to 100 hour work weeks, and it's just like, damn, like this fucking sucks. I'm so depressed.
Yeah.
But then looking back, it was like such a good thing that I made that small sacrifice.
Yeah.
So I could save up, and it led to different opportunities with work and moving me up to where I can ask for more money for my time, and that kind of opened up having more freedom a little bit. But it's just like, if you're going 110% like that all the time, you're gonna not be able to sleep. Your health's gonna decline. You're gonna move away from your friends, and like shit's just not gonna go well in that area of your life. But you're successful. Like you're doing good. You're making a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's times where you have to realize that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And like you said, like focus on your health. And
well, and the tragic part about all that stuff is you might like work that hard, and suddenly you're making all this money, and then you might increase your lifestyle to match that money. So like you no longer can not work that hard, because you have to keep that pace in order to just not like have your house taken away or something. I
know. Yeah, you hear it a lot around here. Like this is termed like lifestyle inflation, where you start to get more money and you think you can start affording things, then you lose your job. Well, shit. Now all your savings are gone, and you still have this debt pretty much to pay for your rent, or your student loans are coming up. You have to pay for that as well. And that comes back to the idea of just living a simple life too, where it doesn't make it doesn't take much to be happy, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, you can really have the smallest space and just the essentials, and you can be happy. Like, going back to Viktor Frankl, right? That's how you say his name?
Yeah.
Like, when he was in the Holocaust, he was, like, a lot of that book was talking about the different types of characters he came across, and, like, some people in there were, like, really in hell. Like, it's physically hell on earth, and then some people were able to find peace with their situation. Right. And that's, like, kind of crazy to think about. It's like it can be either or, and even for some people that seem like super happy and satisfied or successful, you look at their lives and you talk to them and they're fucking depressed, dude. Like, they're not balanced. Like, they don't have happiness or satisfaction with what they're doing in life. I think that's important to look at, is to see, like, okay, like, what are these people doing in their lives that make them feel a certain way? Like, how are they thinking mainly? Like, what types of books are they reading? Like, what types of people are they surrounding themselves with that make them feel that way?
Well, and I feel like that's actually the purpose of life, in a sense. You know, it's like that is the problem that humanity's been suffering with their entire lives, you know. Like, when I was traveling around the U.S. last year, I went to most states and traveled around Europe a bunch, and I met hundreds or
that was sick, dude. I was watching that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
That was so cool.
Well, and I met people, and they were like, no matter where you go, people are worried about rent or jobs or girlfriends or boyfriends or any of that stuff. It's like a universal problem, you know, like wanting more or not having enough or whatever. It's like everybody's struggling with that. And it's such a weird thing to realize. Like, everyone is self-conscious and afraid that they're not doing enough. And everyone's like, I suck. I'm not doing my full, you know, whatever, you know. And thinking about it from that perspective, worrying about it seems kind of silly, you know. It's like I mean, I still worry about it. I'm not saying I'm above it or anything, but it's like a weird,
me too.
Like, human thing, you know. Like, the thing I think about all the time is, if you go back 500 years, we are living better than the kings of England. Like, the pinnacle of society back then couldn't just fucking have a cake. Like, we can go to Ralph's right now and buy a cake for $6. A cake in 1700 would be like buying an Xbox or more, you know. Like, for your birthday in, you know, colonial America, you would get a cookie for your birthday, you know, like a single shitty no sugar cookie, you know.
The quality of life's gone up so much.
And the crazy part is we still find ways to complain. You know?
And it seems like everyone, or for the most part, at least from what studies are saying, it's like most people are actually more depressed, especially in America, or in, like, first world countries. And I think a lot of that has to do with, like, you know, the fact that we're, like, overstimulated and we have so many things that we can divide our attention to or against. And I remember, like, there was a little clip from Jordan Peterson. He was talking about the same thing. He's like, it's like these 12-year-old kids, like these, like, 14-year-old kids can see more naked women than, like, the King of France in his entire lifetime over the span of, like, 30 seconds. And it's fucking wild. It's like we're just being bombarded by so much information. It's like
overstimulation all the time.
And it's like now we're starting to realize, okay, we need to pull back from those systems of, like, dopamine that are just, like, surging our brains and going towards more simple things, or actually, like, going through adversity and, like, exercising or doing something challenging that's actually, like, you don't feel comfortable doing because it's actually good for you.
Well, and I think it's like, again, going back to the Viktor Frankl thing, the more you can accept the reality of your situation, no matter what it is, the more happy you're going to be in the long run. You know, Stan sent me this quote from this homeless guy. It was kind of a funny thing, but it actually was pretty insightful. Of, like, so many people are focused on what they can be, and they're not focused on what they are. You know, it's like, as an individual, like, you know, like, the path of you becoming the president of the United States is probably long gone at this point, you know.
You think so, dude?
Or
you're doubting me like that?
Well, or you being an NFL player, or, you know, it's like...
Yeah,
like,
I know what you mean.
You know, it's like, that's a long gone conclusion, and it's like, if you were just caught up on the idea of, like, I'm going to be president of the United States or I'm a failure, then you're shit out of luck. You know, you've signed up for a life of suffering till you die, you know. Whereas if, like, you're okay just having a simple job and having a simple life, you know, you might actually be better off. I talked with the Flash Kits guys about this, you know, like in the podcast I had with them, they were talking about how they're actually in a pretty privileged position. They have a few million subs on YouTube. They have people that actually watch their stuff, people that care about them, people that think they're funny. And they're like, I don't like my job a lot of the time. It's really stressful. I have to be creative all the time. But to give up this position that I'm in almost feels like selfish, you know? Because, like, so many people would kill to have a few million subs on YouTube and, you know, like to just have what they have, you know? Fucking flies.
There's like so many in here now. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I struggle with that actually quite a bit, is trying not to be stressed over the overall ambition that I have for myself, like to do greater things or to move up and work on greater projects or get myself in this circle with these people. I mean, I don't know how I really feel about it. I feel like a part of it's like the driving force and motivation behind like why I want to be better or why I want to learn more about a certain subject in art or want to do certain things better. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like taking away from your ability to be present if you can't, you know, divide your focus with that in mind. But yeah, like the Flash Kits guys, I know like their company's been kind of like blown up recently too. And it's like, I'm sure they think about that shit all the time, especially when they're going through like deadlines or a vendor's not working properly. But there's someone else that would, like you said, they would like kill to be in that position.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I read Carl Jung's biography about like his autobiography, and you know, he was talking about how when he was a child, he justified there not being a God that exists because he has the ability to lie and be evil. He's like, if I can lie and be evil, how can a God exist? And then he was like, well, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Maybe I'm actually kind of an idiot. And maybe there's a purpose to all this stuff that I can't see because of my limited perspective as a human. You know? And maybe maybe these impulses inside myself are actually good. You know, there's actually something given to me that is positive for humanity. Like maybe ambition in that way is actually not evil, even though it's something that might improve our lives. It is something that is there that you can't get rid of. Like if I care about being successful. I care about, like, I hope someday my YouTube channel has a lot of subscribers. Like, that's something I want, you know? And if I never pursued that, I think I'd be disappointed in myself. You know, and denying my ability or my, like, desire for that, it makes me feel good temporarily. It, like, boosts my ego because I'm like, I don't care about that shit, you know? But the reality is, it's like, I want to be, you know, I want to be recognized. I want to have approval, and I want to be, you know, successful. And again, maybe the denial of that is actually almost like denying my own humanity, you know? Because, like, what do you do? You know, it's like the way the Flash Kits described it, the Flash Kits guys, is like, do you want to be the broccoli knight for the rest of your life? You know, just eat nothing but broccoli and go on runs, and then that's your entire life, you know?
That's how they called it, the broccoli knight?
Yeah, the broccoli knight.
It's fucking hilarious.
Or the broccoli samurai or something, you know, just like nothing but chicken breast and broccoli and rice, and for all your life, and you know, you know, there's like something you know you should be doing that you're not doing, but you don't want to fucking do it. So
that's like where like the idea of suffering comes back to. It's like dealing with these emotions that we get as humans, like, oh, not being enough, or like thinking about these things too much, be fucking overwhelming. But I don't know, for me, I think a lot of it, my inner peace comes from flow, like when I'm in a flow state, or if I can do things that achieve that level of flow and creativity, inner peace, like if I can do things or have habits that get me into that flow. I don't mean like, you know, bad habits, but like good constructive things, like whether that's going on for like a long bike ride without any music, just to breathe and get into that flow. And I know it's like healthy for me. My heart's beating. I'm actually exercising. Like my body's repairing itself. Or whether that's like doing a whole sketchbook page of sketches. And it's like, okay, I'm actually developing my skills, and I'm getting a little bit better at this. I'm fleshing out ideas. It's like constructive things that move you in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that's about being present, right? Like in the moment and achieving that state of flow. But a lot of these ideas that can give you stress or anxiety seem like they're things that are either out of your control or things that you're trying to control, like being successful or getting to a certain point, having crazy goals and ambitions, or dang, I wish I was like in that guy's shoes right now, like fuck, this sucks, like I'm not good enough. Whereas like if you're in the present doing those things, like you're kind of distracted from them in a way. I don't know if that's the right answer, but
I think it is the right answer. Honestly, I think that's the only way to live, is like, of course you want stuff. Of course you want to be more successful and be further along than you are. But like the only thing you can do to move towards that reality is do what you're doing. Just like anyone that we see as incredibly successful gets there by just compounding small good decisions. Like I've heard this quote 1,000 times, but it's something like your life doesn't consist of one big decision and you're successful. It's like your day consists of 100,000 small decisions, and the only job you have is to make 51% of them positive, at least most of them positive, and just trying to work to getting them mostly positive as possible. Like, let's say your schedule is like wake up at 6 a.m., go for a run, read a book at 7, eat a really healthy breakfast, work from 8 to 4, 8 to 5 or something, and then hang out with your spouse and eat dinner and read a book and then go to sleep. Like if you do like 60 or 70% of that, you've had a really great day. Like if you wake up an hour later and read for half the amount of time and still get a lot of work done, you're still having a great day. But at a certain point, there's a line at which, like, maybe you wake up at 10, you don't go for the run, you show up to work late, you are angry at yourself, so you take it out on your significant other, and then you eat, canes for dinner. It's like, that's probably, like, that too many days in a row.
Sounds like a
ruined your life.
With canes at the end, bro?
Dude, okay, me too, dude. But there are days where I'm both people,
Yeah.
Like, I'm both simultaneously the person.
And that's like the idea of balance too, or like like moderation, like treat moderation with moderation in mind. It's like, okay, sometimes you have to just like let loose, and not saying that like the part about like taking it out on other people, like I don't think that's ever good. Like, like that's something where you should introspect a little bit and be like, okay, why the fuck am I acting this way? Like, what is causing that? But there's that part of like discipline I really like, and self like responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions in your day. Especially like one of the best feelings ever is like ending your day knowing that you've earned what you're doing at the end of your day. Like if you're relaxing and it feels like you earned that, you're like, oh fuck, I actually like, I did a lot of work today. I had good meetings with my clients, or I just made a small amount of effort that put me in the right direction, a positive trajectory where I'm moving forward. Like those types of things feel really good, but I think a lot of that comes with discipline. Like, and do you know Jocko Willink? He's a Navy SEAL guy who's like really about leadership, and he's leading companies towards achieving their goals, whatever they might be. But a lot of what he talks about is having this personal responsibility and discipline, and that there's actually like a form of freedom through being disciplined and having some sort of ritual, or like having priorities that you're doing every day, or every other day, things that you're staying consistent with. Like opens up freedom. It gives you a sense of control over your own life, I think, is the main takeaway for me.
Well, and I think part of it is just, I think that's part of growing up as well. Like when you're a kid, you could be anything. You could be an astronaut, football player, artist, teacher, engineer, doctor, whatever. But at a certain point, you have to make a decision that you are going to be an artist or a teacher, or you have to make a decision, And I think being caught up in the what if prevents you from being, like, you're pulled in so many directions, you might just get paralysis. Like, I can do anything, so I'm going to do nothing, And then at that point, nothing is valuable because you could do anything and everything is equal. And then you sit around and do nothing, and then you wasted your day and you feel guilty about it. Whereas if you are disciplined about exercise and doing the tasks you know you have to, there is that piece of like, oh, I know I have to go to work. I know I have to exercise. I know I have to eat well. Those things are figured out for me, so I can focus on the things that I actually really want to be doing. You know, I think, like, as people, everyone has a tremendous amount of potential to be something, and the more we go about our lives, the more that potential is lost because it's channeled towards something specific. And like the tragic part about all of that is we're not nearly as much as we actually can be, you know, like not even close. Like I could be a ripped ultra astronaut, Navy SEAL, bodybuilder, amazing artist, but I'm not, you know? And like you can either let that bum you out or you can just accept who you are as a limited, you know, as a limited human being.
There's like a sense of acceptance in that too.
Yeah.
And to me that arrives, you know, it lets you arrive at some sort of peace, like, okay, knowing that you are okay where you are. Like, I hear this a lot with like some of my students that I've had is, you know, they feel like they're not where they should be. Like we were talking before, like, you know, other people their age are doing things that are greater than what they're doing. It's like, like that's pretty defeating too, right? It's that sense of comparison. Like, okay, like that person's doing great, good. Like they should serve as a motivation, but it shouldn't be crippling. Like that you're not there yet. They might have had better circumstances than you potentially,
or they might just be better.
Or like, some people are just like inclined to do things from an early age too. Like they have a head start and talent. Yeah, there is that. I do believe that there is like some sort of inherent talent, and if you know, if you have a skilled mentor, or if you have parents that can see that from early on, they allow you to feed into that, then of course you're gonna have a head start. But it's never too late to start and try to achieve that type of stuff. You know, as long as it's like within the bounds of being realistic. You know, you might not be astronaut, like MMA fighter, president at the same time, but you can try to focus on being one of those things. And you know, the greater the goal is, the more likely you're to achieve some part of that path. You know, like it's going to be easier for you to become an artist if you have to change that camera.
Yeah, well, and I think a big part of being able to have that mindset is letting go of expectations. You know, it's like actually, you know, when you say that, like, I don't care that that person's more successful than me, actually meaning it, you know. Like, a lot of people say that stuff and they're like, just trying to sound modest. They're trying to be like, you know, I don't actually care. It's like that thing in art school when people say like, oh, my art sucks, you know, just like fishing for compliments, you know. And like, you know, I think everyone is guilty of it to a certain degree, but at the same time, like, if it's true that happiness rests in day-to-day habits, it actually doesn't matter if somebody's president and you're not, you know. Like, I think part of all this stuff is having like an inherent love for yourself that no one else can give you, like inherently seeing value in what you have to say and what you're doing in a way that like is almost like it's like indestructible, you know. Like no matter what anyone says or does, you'll still see value in yourself, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. Only thing I can think of is like that going a little bit to the extreme, because there's always going to be extremes on either side. No matter like what it is, there's going to be like polar opposites to what you're presenting. But like, you know, you see people that have extreme pride and ego, and there's this idea of hubris too, where that can go a little bit too extreme, where you think too highly of yourself. So it's like so difficult, you know, navigating this.
I think most people actually struggle with the not having enough confidence.
I think so too. Yeah.
But I think even then, like those people who feel that, like that hubris, they get a comeuppance at some point. You know, they get like a dose of reality of like, oh, I'm not nearly as smart as I thought I was. You know, I like flew too close to the sun, and it hurt me in a way that was like profoundly painful. You know, and yeah, it's tough. You know, and I think part of the, I don't want to say tragic, but part of the ironic things about art and those kind of people is that often the people that have kind of a naive optimism about themselves are generally the people that I've seen are more successful, you know. Like, if you want to be a successful commercial artist, a big part of it is, like, if you can't see value in your own self, how can you expect another person to see value in what you're trying to offer?
Yeah.
You know?
And it's going to show, too, like, when you're presenting your ideas, you're not going to be confident in them or confident in yourself because of that insecurity that you might have. They're not worth certain things happening to you. Or I've seen it, too, where some artists, and this is, like, you know, this is like a human thing where people are, like, self-sabotaging in a way, where they don't think that they're worthy of, like, this opportunity, or they're not good enough. So, you know, things happen. They don't perform. They can't perform because of it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's fucking tricky.
Yeah. Well, I guess for us as individuals, like, the way it started for us is that we met each other in, like, a LCAD figure workshop, and now...
Yeah, we're scrubs.
Yeah, we're fucking suck. I don't know. Like, I'm a fraud. Like, I'm for sure a fraud. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
But I don't know. It's like, I think everything has such humble beginnings, and then it grows into something that you never would have expected. You know?
Yeah, looking back. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of odd. It's kind of surreal, honestly.
Yeah,
you know?
It is.
Just like by pursuing our genuine interests, like, it just happened to work out in a way that's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, we actually went with our passions and, you know, led us to this journey. And we're still on, you know. Like, I feel like I should be 100% satisfied with where I am in my career. But it's like, there's still that part that's missing, right? Where it feels like it might not be like a part that's missing, but there's still like a journey to be had. Like, I know there's like great things around the corner, and I'm excited about them. Yeah. But it's like, it hasn't ended yet. I haven't gotten there yet, wherever that might be.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes life pretty interesting, is knowing that, like, oh shit, this is like never ending. I'm never going to be 100% satisfied, but I can use like certain things in my life to make me happy now, like where I am. Right. And it might not be like true happiness, like what do you call it? Like a hedonistic pleasure.
Oh yeah.
Where you're just like
nothing but babes and weed and candy, you know.
Yeah, you're just like living in a pleasure house, but like you're doing things that make you satisfied. Like, I think the Japanese even have a term for it. It's like ikigai. Yeah. You could probably pop it up. Yeah. As like a definition, like, but it's like this form of satisfaction through what you're doing. It's like it's hitting all these different corners in your life. Like, it's fulfilling in your purpose. Like, it actually makes you happy doing the thing that you're doing. Yeah. And you can see yourself on this journey going off towards something great. Yeah. But it's in the moment you're experiencing it. And I think that's what everyone should be focused on, is getting to that point of being satisfied. But it doesn't mean that you're always happy. Like, happiness isn't that satisfaction that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, I think it has to do with accepting. There's a thing in Buddhism. It's like accepting the fundamental suffering of life, you know? Like, even something as pleasurable as eating a chocolate bar can be really painful because you have diabetes, or you're like guilty because you want to lose weight or something, or whatever. You know, it could be applied to heroin or sex or video games or whatever, you know. And like that, thinking of it from that perspective, that the most tasty thing, like just sugar and just sugar, could be an unpleasant experience, you know. And on the flip side, something like running a marathon, which is horrible, could be a really spiritually fun and enjoyable experience if you put yourself in the right mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
But, do you want to know what else is a fun and spiritual experience?
Oh, fuck, you're going to have me do the salts right now?
Smelling salts. Oh, my. Do you want to do smelling salts on the podcast?
I'll watch you do them first. Okay, I've seen people do the salts, but it's not like we're going to lift anything after this. We're just going to
smell salts.
All right.
Okay.
Like, this doesn't look good for you at all.
Okay.
It's like you got this from a 7-Eleven or about
on an ad on a Sketchy website. Shit. Okay, let's see. Rule, do not remove
Do you do
cotton
this
ball.
every day?
No, I have never done this before.
You've never done this, and we're
Yeah.
oh my god. Okay, I'm sure it's gonna be fine. But I remember smelling it before you put the water in. It smelled like absolute piss.
Okay. Okay, so it says... I don't know what a teaspoon of water is. I don't have a way of measuring.
Is that the teaspoon? Is that?
Oh.
I think that might be a teaspoon
Okay.
of water. Oh fuck. Oh god.
I'm afraid. I'm scared.
Don't be afraid. Fear is the mind killer.
Okay. Do not remove cotton ball. Is a cotton ball in here?
I think the flies want some.
Oh, jeez. Oh, God. Okay.
So can you reuse this? Like once you've used it once, can you keep adding water?
Keep lid tightly sealed when not in use. I think it only takes one.
God. We're gonna gas ourselves in here?
Hopefully not. Okay. Do you want to open the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll just crack it open. Just a bit.
Okay, are you ready?
You first. I'm not ready.
Oh, fuck. Oh, God.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I want to try this.
Oh, my God.
Are you okay, dude?
Oh, fuck. That was way worse than I thought it would be. Oh, fuck.
Dude, I don't want to do this now. I don't know if I want to do these salts, bro.
Oh, God. Jesus, I'm crying. Oh, my God.
I don't know if
That hurts so bad.
I don't know if I want to do this. Bro. Did you do this right?
Oh, fuck.
Okay, I'm gonna waft it.
Okay.
Oh, no, I can't do this. That smells like bleach and piss.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
Oh, God. I want you to try it now, but... Oh, God.
oh my god.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, that burns.
Oh, fuck.
I didn't get a lot, but it burns.
Oh, fuck.
Why do people do this shit?
Oh, fuck, that was horrible.
What the fuck? Here, drink water.
God.
Please. Holy shit. Dude. What is in this? It doesn't even have like ingredients, bro.
Oh, fuck, that was horrible.
Okay, sodium carbonate and aluminum chloride.
Oh,
that sounds like it's like a cleaner, like for your drain.
Oh, jeez.
You okay?
I'm good.
Do you feel good?
No,
do you
I
feel
don't.
alive?
I feel like, oh, jeez. Oh, fuck. I don't recommend that. That's way worse than I thought it would be.
What if you got an ad for that? You had to do that, you had to do that every
Oh,
episode.
fuck. Yeah. I have a podcast of smelling salts. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
God, that was horrible.
Is that how we cap off the podcast?
I think so.
With some smelling salts?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Oh, that was
Some toxic masculinity right there.
that was very
That was
fucking
vile.
toxic. This is called
Jeez, I need to blow my nose.
Ward Smelling Salts. Bottled Insanity XL, if you guys are interested.
I did the smelling salts.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Did you activate them?
I did.
Yeah, but it looks like you took them, like,
I want
you
to try
saved them
it.
for, like,
No, it was a quarter of a second. It was a quarter.
It was quick.
I like how that's what you came to.
Do you want to try it?
Yes.
Don't.
is the podcast still
Just waft it.
I think it's still recording.
Yeah. So going. Okay.
Oh shit! Yeah. Don't. Well. That is straight cat piss. That is
It
like.
smells like piss.
Jeez, I have a headache.
Well, I have respect for you trying them. I do.
I want to see how close I can get without like.
I was like, oh, it's not gonna be that fun.
You went like nose deep, bro.
You look like you're.
Oh God, I am crying. Well, how should people follow you?
I have Instagram and ArtStation mainly.
Okay.
It's Tayler Olivas Art for both of them. So
Yeah.
my name's spelled a little bit differently. It's Tayler Olivas and then art and just one word. You can find me there. I have a YouTube. I should be uploading probably soon, but that's
Cool.
it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Really
thanks for having me on, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
This was fun.
Awesome. I'll cut it there. God, that was a horrible idea.
I think it was worth it.
It was worth it. It was worth it for the content.